Hi there, my name is Memo, this is my channel Houseplanty Goodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion, possibly yours too if you're watching videos like this, which is tropical houseplants. You might be able to see the plant that I want to talk about behind me today. In today's video I thought I'd do a bit of an update on my spiral variegated ginger. This is a plant that I know isn't one that a lot of people might have in their collections, but based on the fact that I found so little information, especially about growing this indoors, that I can see from comments both on here on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram, whenever I post any pictures or videos about this plant, there's a lot of people that are willing to ask questions because they've got one in their care and they can't find anything about its care. So consider this a bit like a diary update in terms of what I have found has worked for me for this plant. Now, bit of an update, you might be able to see it's now one plant instead of two separate plants in pots. What happened there essentially is both of those plants were at the very top of my plant shelf, and you might not notice this because you can only see me from here up, but I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor in order to be low enough to have the entire plant in frame with me. But essentially it was very high. It was getting to the point where it was getting watered every 2 days. It was getting really, on hot days, it needed daily watering, possibly twice daily watering because it was sapping up the water so quickly. And I'm just like, look, this can't continue happening the way that it is. And essentially what I was then able to do is bring it down. I went to a local nursery, and you might be able to see the pot is the most adorable retro 90s and 70s type pot ever, and it wasn't on purpose. I was looking for something much more plain, a simple plastic trough container. I couldn't find it. Maybe I was in a hurry at that time at the garden center, but I found that, and I didn't think I was ever gonna get so enamored with a pot that looked a bit on the tacky side. But I absolutely love it at this point, because what you might not be able to see is the blue bit is the container, the white section is a separate section that comes off, and that's what's got the drip tray at the bottom. So even that bit is kind of cool. But yeah, so now it's in my usual light airy soil mix, but the difference now is I've hydrospiked it, and I've talked about hydrospikes on a previous video. I've got 2 hydrospikes in at the moment that are filling into a water vessel. I think the water vessel is about 1 liter. I don't know what that is in ounces for the US viewers, but Google is your friend. Try to translate the metric into imperial. I think it's just slightly over or under a pint that we have here, but I don't even know if you guys use pints over there, so but at the moment, just to give you an indication, that is using up 1/2 liter of water daily. So I'm watering its water container every other day, essentially. And granted, the beauty of hydrospikes is that you can put a larger container of water and fill it up less frequently. But I'm all right because I want to be able to control what's happening with this. Because sometimes I find with hydrospikes, especially in the beginning when you're setting them up, they might not set up correctly. If you want to know a bit more about hydrospikes specifically, do drop a comment down below and I'll do a separate video on that, because we'll go into a bit more detail on that one. But yeah, similar care as before, bright and direct. You can see the window, it's got a net curtain. That's a southeast facing window. That gives you an indication of how much light it is getting, and it's loving life. It's got no crispy edges, which I know this is one of the things that these plants struggle with. You can see it's keeping its variegation. You can even see some of the stems that were almost entirely white are now starting to push out green. So I've never taken out the entirely white stems of this, and it's done fine. I know I was talking to somebody the other day and they were having entirely green stems, but I'm just like, if the majority of the rest of your plant is still variegated, let it have the green stem, because they come out of rhizomes at the bottom, and essentially you're helping that wider rhizome network down below be able to photosynthesize more, especially if it's got a fully white, if it's got a fully green stem, you might then get a fully white stem, or you might be getting a stem that has even more white in its variegation. So it swings and roundabouts essentially, but really, when you get the care right, it's a relatively straightforward plant. I know this plant wants almost as much light as an alocasia or even a succulent, I'd say. And it needs whole ton of water, basically. So as long as you keep both of those two things going, it's also a very, very hungry plant. So it gets fed, I think at the moment it's getting fed every watering. So because I'm watering the container with the hydro spikes, this is getting fertilized every week now at this point. Weekly, but weekly. And yeah, it's doing really, really well. It could probably do a bit more of the spiral. It's not happening as much as I would like it. I would like it more if I didn't have the 70% shade cloth at the top. But tough. It's essentially what it's getting at the moment. I don't mind if it's got a slightly less spiral, because this would be exceptionally happy and it would spiral happily if I did that, but every single other philodendron and anthurium in here would crisp up entirely. So I'm just like, you know what? You win some, you lose some. That's what I need to do to keep all my plants happy. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about this plant. I think it's a bit of a quick update video. If you've got any questions, comments, as always, drop them down below. I'd love to have that conversation with you. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks. Bye.